Hello and welcome again to another edition of East of Ethnia. This week I would like to talk to you about crime. Not about crime in general, but about a particular crime that I read about in the news. I will put a link to the article in the text that accompanies this video so that you will be able to read it too. But this involves a criminal court decision in Smederevo in Serbia. And let me tell you what happened here. Three people were convicted of espionage and of promotion of racial and ethnic hatred and discrimination. There were apparently another eight people who were charged with the same crime, but those people were not arrested and didn't go to trial. This case did not go to trial either. The people involved gave a guilty plea, so they made a plea bargain. And here is the espionage and promotion of hatred that they did. What these people did, they were hired, apparently, although the connection is not entirely clear, by Russian security services to go to France and to Germany and to create incidents that would destabilize social conditions in those countries. And how did they create these incidents? Basically, what they did is they engaged in public stunts that were targeted to minority groups in these countries designed to cause outrage. So, although Armenians were targeted as well, the principal targets of these activities were members of the Jewish and the Muslim populations, and they did things that were calculated to be offensive and outrageous to members of these populations. So, for example, in Paris, they defaced a number of synagogues, temples, and cultural sites that are associated with the Jewish community with green paint, deliberately choosing green as the color that is symbolic of the Islamic religion, so designed to create a confrontation there. Also in Paris, they placed in front of a mosque the heads of pigs, an animal that famously, I suppose, Muslims are forbidden to eat. So this is meant to be a kind of symbolic provocation. Similarly, in Germany, in front of the Holocaust Museum, they put up plastic sculptures like Halloween decorations of skeletons in front of the Holocaust Museum and decorated these plastic sculptures of skeletons with political slogans. There were other incidents too, putting up provocative stickers around and so on. And what did they get? What were they compensated for doing this activity? Well, apparently, for each action they carried out, the members of the group got each between 1,000 and 1,500 euros. It said for the provocative stickers, the ones that were designed to weaponize memory of the Armenian genocide, they got 500 euros if they took a photo with the stickers that they had put up. So this is the case. They made a deal with the prosecutors to plead guilty and have been sentenced. We don't know how big the group is. We know that eight more people were charged with the crime that was involved, but we don't have any idea what will be happening with them. So those are the facts. And what do the facts show? Well, I think one thing that they show is is a fairly good understanding on the part of the Russian security services of the background of social conflict and of instability that exists in the countries that were targeted. I mean, there is no guarantee that creating provocations like this could lead to a serious incident or could lead to violence. But then nobody predicted that a cartoon in a magazine would lead to a massacre of the editorial staff of that magazine. But that did happen, so there's a bit of uncertainty, but there's a bit of probability. Another thing that it shows is what Russia is capable of doing and what it is willing to do in the states of Europe. And clearly, there is a desire to cause instability and to exploit social and political and other difficulties in those societies. On the other hand, it turns out they're willing to do things that are fairly low risk for them and deniable for them. That is, use a hired group of people who are economically unstable and are unemployed, and they're not willing to spend very much. I mean, this whole operation, assuming that everybody was paid and their travel expenses and so on were paid, probably could not have cost altogether more than 50,000 euros. The other thing that it shows, however, is that it shows where Russia believes that European societies are weak. And unsurprisingly, there is a consistency between where this shows that Russian security services believe that European societies are weak and the beliefs that were promoted by propaganda in an earlier period in Russia when it was a part of the Soviet Union. And there was a tendency to view the West as decadent, as divided, as culturally unstable, and so on. A further thing that it shows is why Serbia is vulnerable to this kind of recruitment that allows um, people from this small town, unemployed people from this small town, to be trained and deployed in this way, and it's because of the ways in which the economy in the country and the social system in the country fails to provide for its citizens. So we can learn something from this crime um, as trivial and sort of, I mean, although it's offensive, as stupid as it seems. I think because the crimes themselves, if you look at them closely, I mean, these are certainly offensive. They're designed to be provocative, and they are provocative, and they rely on the chance that somebody will be sufficiently provoked to respond, which in these cases, it seems, fortunately, did not happen. But the other things that we can say about the crime is that basically what they did is they paid a bunch of people to go around Europe and act like assholes toward members of minority groups. And in doing that, really, they did not stand out very much from a large part of the social environment in which they operate. Very little would have been different if these crimes had not been committed at all. What we can finally say is, as a result of the plea bargain, we know the sentences that the people who committed the offenses received. So they received sentences of between 6 and 18 months in prison. And given the will to respond and the understanding for the sensitivities of minority groups and the determination of Russia to continue to cause trouble in Europe where it was able, that means that at least some of them we can see possibly back in action doing similar things before the end of the year. And I'll leave on that happy note. Thank you for your time and attention, and we'll talk to you again soon.